Good morning, beloved. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is that you are watching the broadcast. Hello, 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 hello. It is wonderful connecting with you, saying hi, hello. How do you do? What is happening? What's going on with you? Blessings, blessings, and more blessings I speak into you. For those who will be, uh, for those who will be um, for those who will be live, yes, 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 yes. For those who will hashtag and replay it, I love it. For those, hey, Coop Coop, good morning. Good morning. Uh, those who will be, I got distracted. Those who will be live, I appreciate that. Those who will hashtag and replay it. Those who will be on, I don't know you on, and I might never know you on. And for those who will be used by Papa to encourage me, this girl, I appreciate you. Anyhow, let me get focused here. So we're still continuing our conversation on better living techniques, better living techniques, and better living techniques. And so we've covered quite a bit of ground so far. And, we've talked about the need to make sure that if we're having conversations about people, that it's necessary, that is true, it's necessary, and it's kind. It's true, it's necessary, and it's kind. We have also talked about um, to as far as healthy choose stop, take a deep breath, and appreciate. And then the pause and the ponder, having curiosity. Like we talked about all those things. And so today we're going to talk about proximity. Um, one of the things come that has become very clear with the expansion of the use of technology for communication is um, is that oftentimes humans will do and say things at a distance that they wouldn't say close up. And I don't mean, I'm not saying this, I'm not talking about aggression. Well, I am talking about aggression actually. But I mean, like, there's some words that if we were face to face with people, that um, we would think twice. Like, we would choose a better way, a more life giving way of saying it. It's like at a distance, people become much more rude, much more aggressive, right? Much more volatile at a distance. And it's the same that we can do with people who we don't come face to face with. We can we can collapse all people into one group of people and say all of them people this and all of those people this. And you got to know if you lived any kind of time, any amount of time at this point, that there is no all one homogeneous group of people, that there is diversity within the group, right? There is more difference within groups than between groups. Um, and and so if we are not proximate, right? If we don't get to know anyone from a different kind of group, then we can more easily say and find evidence to the stereotype that we have about that particular group, right? So whether we're talking groups outside of whatever group we belong to, or we're talking about subgroups within groups, right? It's important when we have proximation, when we are close, when we spend time together, we have real conversations, we come away from the surface of conversations, right? Excuse me. When we have committed to getting to know one another, we do things that allow us to gain insight about another human, then we think twice about what we say about them. We think twice about how we treat them, you know. So, a better living technique also is proximity, right? Proximity, getting closer. Like you can, if you think, have you ever been upset with somebody? Let's say someone who you love, right? You've been upset with them. And if you stay away, right, we pull away, we go in our corners and we da 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 da, right? But then when we get closer to them, right, we run into them at the store or we just happen to be somewhere that they are, that has a tendency to change, right? That has a tendency to soften. Now, I know it also could explode, just depending on what the combination of energy is. I know. But today we're talking about this idea of proximity, and the benefit of proximity. You know, a lot of people believe in the things they've been told without having their own lived experience. Right. And a lot of people believe in the things that they've heard and been told about situations, people, places, things, whatever. And even if they do have their own experience, they're so committed to the old story that all they can see is confirming evidence, right? It was confirmation bias. All they can see is confirming evidence for what they have come to believe anyway. Right? Unfortunately, we have too much of that in this here society of ours. So I invite you, for the thing that you might have issue with, if it works, like to get closer. I'm not saying to do anything dangerous. If something is dangerous, then you should have issue with it. Like if it's unhealthy, if it's you know, problematic, then yeah, you might not want to get close to that. But I'm saying like family relationships that you may need to just have conversation with, that you may need to just better understand why someone does what they do the way that they do, that you may need to help them to better understand you, right? We're not going to understand each other better by staying at a distance. We're just not. We're not going to understand each other by being distant. But we might, right? We might get some better understanding by coming closer together. If our coming together is conducive of that, because we also need to determine what our coming together looks like. Right? What does it look like to come together? What does it look like to have a life-giving conversation? What does it look like? You know? And so when we think about it in those ways, it can be significantly beneficial. Right? My technology is tripping. Did this yesterday. Let me see. What's happening? I'm on the wrong network. Okay. So, anyhow, so being proximate, right? So there is better living techniques, right? There are better ways of living. I invite you to look at what are the techniques that you employ in your day-to-day experience and make decisions as to whether or not those techniques work for you. Right? Do those techniques work for you or not? If they don't work for you, then what's an alternative? What is an alternative? Look, sometimes we have techniques that we've used for it seems like a lifetime, and they've worked for us, like they've benefited us, they've helped us to get to the points in which we are now. But then we come to a point in life and we realize those techniques no longer serve me. I am no longer benefiting. As a matter of fact, they're costing me. So look at the techniques, communication techniques, connection techniques, overall wellness techniques. Do they serve you today is the question, right? So if we want to improve our living, if we want better living, if we done as and techniques and strategies that has worked. Worked, but don't seem to be serving you well. I know I keep blacking out as the technology. Sorry about that. Hey, Ray Price, good morning. Thank you for your prayers. Yeah, technology, I don't know. It's acting up a little bit this morning. I had to switch my network. I'm not sure why it's on that network anyway. Doesn't make sense to me, but okay. So as we think about proximity, closeness, right? The state of being near a place, object, or point in time. Are we proximate, right, to one another? Right? Are we close to one another? Or do we keep a distance? Or do we keep ourselves at a distance? And so if we keep ourselves at a distance, the likelihood of misunderstanding is increased, right? If we only see things, people, situations from a distance, we very likely may not ever get to truly understand it, them, the. Do you see? But if we decide that I want to get to know it, them, the situation better, we've got to get closer. We've got to get closer. We've got to close the gap, right? Lessen the gap that we have. And so I just invite you to, if there's someone, a group that you have, that you don't really have firsthand information about, that you might want to get some. You might want to get some. You might want to close the gap. At least enough for you to get your own real lived experience. And when you do, give yourself a chance to view it, them, from their lens. From their lens. It's the only way as humans that we really move past some of the stuff that we continue to bump our heads against, right? We continue to believe what we've been told without evidence to support it. Real evidence. I mean, we make up evidence in our mind. We bring evidence with us from our history. But if it's not proximate, like if it's not your own lived experience, you haven't, then there is something missing. So, proximity. We're talking about better living techniques. Better living techniques. As humans, we need connection. We are better when we're connected. Humans who live in their own silos, on their own planes, only looking at themselves, it's a short-lived experience because you're going to need somebody else to support, to help, right? To be with. Because the truth of the matter is, no one human alone is sufficient within themselves, right? Well, let me rephrase that. We're sufficient. Like humans are sufficient, but humans aren't intended to live alone. Let me just say that, because I'm not saying that we're not enough. Of course we're enough. Psychologically, emotionally, yeah. That enough question is a ridiculous question. It makes absolutely no sense to ask, am I enough? Enough for what? Enough for what? Do you belong? Do you have the credentials, or do you have the skill set, the experience to be at a particular table? Maybe not. But that has nothing to do with your value or your worth. That has nothing to do with your being. Your being was enough, period, before it was. It was already sufficient in and of itself. Don't get me on this subject. I'm just saying. Yes. Am I enough? Don't ask me that question. I think it's a ridiculous question. Get it. I understand why people ask it, because they've had life experiences and they've received messages that said they, as the human, the individual, the being, is not enough. And I, Dr. Catherine Elaine James, with 5 degrees, says that's a ridiculous question. It's a wrong question. We've tied identity enough to outcome, to skill set. One is a skill set question, knowledge question. One is a being question. The enough does not belong with the being question. That question doesn't, like your being, there's no worth that's possible to be put on the being. The being is sufficient no matter lot in life. The being is sufficient enough. Whether or not I'm enough doesn't belong on the identity or the being. Now, skill set. Do you have what it takes to fly the plane? Are you enough for that? Do you have that skill set? You might not. And I don't want you flying the plane. That question belongs in skill set. It does not belong in being. Let's settle that, because that for me ruffles my feathers a little bit. I'm just saying. Anyway, I love you. I appreciate you. I value you. And we are at the top of the hour. At the moment that God gave us our breath, me and you, we forfeited, we relinquished, you and I, we gave up the right to not be amazing. We just don't have the right to not be amazing. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye for now.